a hard outline of oily dust on the floor. Probably it hasn't been moved in years. She lifts it up onto a tin chest, keeping her back to the storekeeper to disguise her interest. The vines twine over the body of the instrument and up its neck, stretching out into the air. Though the delicacy of the carving is almost elfin, it has the strength of vines, blindly reaching, defying gravity. The tendrils are dotted with small flowers, jasmine, so accurately rendered that Eve identifies them instantly. A flap of velvet in the lid conceals a bow, held in place by ribbons. It, too, is twined with curling vines. She wiggles her fingers into the gaps between the instrument and the velvet lining, prying it loose. A moth flies out into her face and disappears in the slanting shafts of light. Holding it by the neck, she senses another shape. With spit and the hem of her dress, she cleans away the dust. There's a pudgy, babyish face, the vines tightening their weave across its eyes. Cupid, blinded by love. Eve pinches up dust from the floor to dirty the face again. She has learned not to improve the appearance of things until after the bargaining is done and the money has changed hands. Then she turns the instrument over. The back is in splinters. Eve touches her finger to the ragged shards of wood, longing to make this beautiful thing whole again. The damage must have been deliberate. An accident would have broken off the vines. What drove that person over the brink? Musician's frustration? Rage at fate? Heartbreak? She can almost feel remnants of the emotions stuck to the gash, like specks of dried blood. If she had it repaired, the cost would almost certainly be more than the instrument is worth. And even an expert might not be able to restore it completely. It could serve as a decorative item, but only if the gash stays hidden. Deborah won't want it. She has a rule against broken things. Also, she feels more comfortable with things that have names like bowls and vases and candlesticks. Passionless things that sit prettily in nice rooms. The history that this object bears on its back would freak her out. Eve moves to return the instrument to its exile, but she can't bring herself to do it. Now that she has touched it, she cannot push it back into the shadows. It's an extravagance, driving into Manhattan, the cost of parking, the idling cross-town traffic, but Eve needed her car for her expedition to the outer boroughs, and she is not ready to go home to New Jersey. She finds an expensive space in an elevator lot and starts walking the 8 blocks to the public library. She leaves the strange instrument in its case on the back seat beside a curly wrought iron bird cage she picked up earlier. Eve? Eve Armenton? She looks around, unsure where this urgent voice is coming from. She has barely heard her maiden name since college. Eve! I can't believe it! Robert? Robert Burnett, her brother Bill's best friend, and beside him, a younger man who must be his son. The pair of them hit her like an optical illusion, a 30-year warp in time, Robert now and Robert then, standing side by side on 34th Street. The son is, Eve realizes, even more beautiful than his father used to be, with thick black hair, a finely cut nose, and angled eyebrows over long, wide-set eyes. Age has dragged Robert's once fine jawline into jowls and thinned his hair. The bright blue eyes that enthralled her when she was 15 are murky, and there's a sheen to his skin, as if the cholesterol in his bloodstream is seeping through. Back then, Robert reminded her of Tigger, with his bouncing energy and his recklessness. He and Bill were 22, college roommates, party boys, the world at their feet. Everything seemed to come easily to Robert. But Bill saw shadows where Robert saw only the light. Robert's wildness was pure exuberance. Bill, Eve sensed, with a teenager's unspeakable anxiety, was daring fate, as if hurrying up the tragedy he knew would surely come. Eve has barely thought of Robert since her brother's funeral. After Bill's death, she cut off all connection with the elements of his life, terrified that the darkness that drove him to suicide might invade her too. Robert moves more slowly now.